Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Thursday Clan Quest stream. I am Shane12088, filling in for Sirion. He's still away. I think he's back. I think he's back next week, but nonetheless, hopefully he'll come along and enjoy the final chapters of the Deep Space Nine Victory is Life arc in Star Trek Online. Hello, Zerdones, one of our resident stream watchers and community helpers. How are you doing today? Let's see, where's our next mission? Gamma Quadrant. And we're looking for Tenebris Torquent, which I assume is Latin, but I don't have that much of a classical education, so I have no idea what that means. That's good, you can't complain. That's good. That's good. It's always better to be in that situation than, you know, I think one thing we all enjoy about Clan Quest, about games in general, is that it's a fun opportunity to just go in there and kind of relax and not have to worry about anything that might come up. And, you know, there's always those people who will bring whatever their daily troubles might be into the gaming space, and that's not what we're here to do. Of course, we're here to just run through these last couple episodes. And, you know, thinking about it, this has been a 3-week endeavor. Obviously, last week was one where we did the two middle parts of the mission, and I think I really enjoyed Quark's Lucky 7 the most, and I wanted to just end at that point because it was such a high note. And I don't remember playing Tenebris Torquent. I don't remember what that one's about, but I do know I have played home a number of times because of some of the end mission stuff that it rewards. But nonetheless, I'm gonna get us to dive in here, and just a bit of a, I guess I could just do a bit of a brief update on what we've seen in Star Trek Online in the last week. Last week I mentioned we have the new Mirror Universe event going on, and one thing that Cryptic is really good about is that most of the starships in this game cost, if you want a good starship, you have to invest probably on the order of around $30 or so to get one of the endgame ships. Sometimes more if you want to go for what they call legendary ships or the lockbox ships. But every so often they will run these events where you can get a free ship, and this is the one they're currently running. It's called the Mirror Universe Gagarin. It's a 25th century design influenced by a Discovery design, except with a Mirror Universe spin. And at Christmas time, summertime, and sometimes at a random point throughout the year, which is where we're at now, they'll just run one of these events. You do the daily 20 times. You see I've completed it 9 out of 20 times. And at the end of it, you get this ship for free, which, when you look at it, is very, very good. It's probably one of the best that they've ever put on offer. And that's one thing that Cryptic has done better over the years, is that they started to offer more of these things for free. We also have the year-long meta event campaign where they're running 5 chapters of it, and if you play through it, I've played through each and every one, hence I've already completed it, but one of the things you would have been able to pick at the end of it is a premium tier 6 starship, and these are their lockbox and promo ships that, under the best of circumstances, sell for effectively max energy credit, max cash stack in game. So they've done a bit to put these kind of things out, and that's where we're at today in Star Trek Online economics and current events. But let's pick up the mission Tenebris Torquent.
Researchers led by my friend Dr. Bashir have isolated several fascinating aspects of Herc biology. I'm told this data provides insight on their native environment, specifically a metallic planetoid orbiting a pulsar within a nebula. There's one system that meets these requirements, Havas Kul in the Gamma Quadrant. I'm going there to investigate along with Captain Kira in the Defiant. Dr. Bashir will accompany us as well. His insight will be critical to the mission's success. The doctor believes we'll find what we need to end this conflict on Havas Kul. If he's right, and he often is, I'm willing to travel to the heart of enemy territory. Won't you join us?
Yes, we will, Carrick. Yes, we will join you for that one. Away we go.
Be seeing you.
Yes, we'll be seeing you. I just love seeing that little sport drive animation with that. Wonderful aspect of that they've been able to work in with the unique ship. Why do I have the map up? We don't need the map. We're right here. We're right here. And see, that's what I was talking about, ships that go into the lockbox. The Parliament class from Lower Decks, currently in the Infinity lockbox. If you want to play any of the ships that you see on screen in modern Star Trek, the general trend that we've seen so far is that they are going to wind up in a lockbox, and that's a huge discussion of debate in the Star Trek Online community, and we are very lucky that we don't have to have those discussions in RuneScape about if new items are going to be put into a lockbox or not. So, as we mentioned, going to the Gamma Quadrant to do these obscure missions, we're likely to see load times because they have to spin
I have
those
to say,
server
the
instances
survey
up.
reports on this system really don't do it justice. A nebula, a pulsar, dark energy, and the Herc homeworld. Nor I. Isn't that strange? One would think they'd place a heavy guard on their home system. How peculiar. Let's use this opportunity to look around quietly.
I'm one of the rare people that doesn't have Amazon Prime, so I don't know what would be in that. So I should actually look into that, because it would be fun to see what they offer compared to, say, Jagex for RuneScape. I know that they recently were offering a Steel Series bundle where if you just claimed it, you go to the Steel Series website and you would effectively be able to get a code, and with that, get one of those
Like it's being completely
$30
stripped of
starships I
anything
was talking
remotely
about
useful.
for free.
The calling card of the Herc, if I'm not mistaken. Perhaps we should send down a probe, just to be absolutely sure. There could be some Herc down there.
Apparently we overshot that. We'll have to adjust that.
Barely Class D. No metals, complex compounds, liquids, or atmosphere.
The interior is a complex maze of tunnels.
Yeah,
Thousands
and
of them.
with those kind of
This
package
matches
offers
patterns
like
we've
that,
seen
for anybody
elsewhere.
who ever wants to
They've
start
been
playing
here.
Star Trek Online, that's a perfect time to pick it up. Because
Probe is online
despite what
transmitting.
some people might say, any
Science team is
ship that
taking
you
a
buy from
close look at the
the
incoming
Zed store
data.
at this time, the Zen
Doesn't
store,
look terribly promising.
is going to be decent
Shall
enough
we
to complete all endgame content, and the one that was on offer with that was one of those.
Entering scanning range now.
These astronomic readings are strange. The planet has a highly eccentric orbit. Looks like it collects matter from the nebula as it sweeps around the pulsar, all while being bombarded with radiation. Definitely not habitable by most standards, though it's not quite demon class.
And the part that's coming back into my mind right now is from 2 missions ago, when we learned that the Herc have sleep cycles. And if the Herc have sleep cycles on their planet, what could that be related to? Perhaps the eccentricity of the orbit.
An orbital period of several thousand years. That explains the Herc life cycle. They must hibernate while the planet is at the far range of its orbit. This orbit coincides with the previous emergencies of the Herc.
Yep.
The 1,000-year cycle explains why they appear suddenly, then vanish just as quickly.
We're reading complex structures here, along with power systems and technology. This could be a base of operations for the Herc. It appears to...
Let's meet on the Defiant. We'll need to make some preparations before we...
Ooh, we get to go to the Defiant. Now, is there an inside scene for this? Oh boy, there is. I didn't even
I've sent
know.
a team down to establish a secure
We had
zone.
a
They're
Defiant
ready for you,
starship
but you'll want to
interior.
put on an EV suit before you beam down. We have some in that container for you to use. Once you're suited up, we'll beam you down to the secure zone. It's just below the planet's surface in a large cavern area.
Let's see. Do I have an EV suit on here? No, I got the armor, not the EV suit. Alright. I guess we'll just go with that. This is one of the older mechanics of the game, all these environmental suits that you need to wear whenever you go down to one of these hazardous planets. So do I have enough for a discovery one? We're not going to waste the time for that right now. But this is the ground system as to how we build our ground characters. We have the kit modules, which provides a general boost. Our body armor, which is where we'll put the environmental suit, shield, our 2 weapons, and a bunch of devices. Then these things up here are kit modules that provide us with the powers that our character uses. Let's see, who else do we have down here? Tomav. We need one. Jem'Hadar number 1. Jem'Hadar number 2. And Jem'Hadar number 3. I'm gonna have to take these off after because they don't have wonderful bonuses, but it'll be good enough for our purposes here. Now the question is, can we move around on this interior? And no, we cannot. We are just limited to this transporter room. Now the question I'm having is, why can't we beam down? Oh, it's because I didn't activate the EV suit. Natural cavern. Readings show unusual energy and lots of magnetized metals.
I should have a habitation area set up soon. We can replace the reducing atmosphere in this cavern with standard oxy-nitro, and it'd warm things up a bit. Kane?
Reading a lot of background radiation and some wild magnetic fields. It's like the pulsar and the nebula are supercharging the metallic crystal compounds here.
Yeah, the music is definitely inferring that something bad is going to happen with this, isn't it?
Everything's in order here. Defiant, do you still have a lock on us?
Affirmative. If you need transport, there may be a slight delay due to pulsar emissions.
That could be it.
I'm getting something odd on my tricorder. Up there!
What was that?
Look out! Ah!
Glad you're still with us.
Yeah,
Whatever that was,
that was
must
very
have
close
left you
call.
for dead. I'd get moving in case it comes back to make sure. Looks like you're in a series of tunnels that connect to a larger cavern. Garrick and Bashir are close to your position. Be careful.
This is Bashir. Garrick and I are alive, but we're a little lost.
Alright, so now we need to figure out which way to go. And as you can see up in the right corner, we have no map because of the interference.
Keep moving. You should head up to another chamber.
And one thing that I have always picked up in video games, and I think it's fairly accepted as one of the ways of doing it, is that when it comes to trying to figure out which way to go, if there's no map, there's no overlay, it always comes down to
oblong chamber.
which way the area
Here I
is
was,
lit.
hoping those cozy,
And see, now we're getting
Looks like the door to the next
a door
chamber is locked.
that is telling us to examine that. But if we were back in that previous room, we wouldn't have had that kind of tell.
Those readings you're getting from that crystal node are interesting. It's generating a localized magnetic field. Manipulating that field could cause a response similar to pushing a button or flicking a switch. I wonder, do you think Herc can sense magnetic fields similar to sharks on Earth? Yes, of course. I think you'll find
Can
a way to
sharks really
manipulate
sense
that magnetic
magnetic
field
fields?
to open the door. The morphogenic crystals are probably the keys.
That's
so look
something
for
I
one nearby
don't know.
that has a similar output to the door node.
Yeah, maybe it does. Alright, let's see if we can use some of these magnetized crystals.
The readings I'm getting on that crystal are weak. It probably isn't usable. That one's got an odd harmonic. Doesn't seem to match the rest. That's the one you need. Use it to open that door.
And behind door number 1, another cavern. Or no? Uh-oh. Run! I love it when it says that's the objective is to just run.
There's a deep crevice ahead of you. See if you can get across.
Never knew we'd be
Hazardous energy and
playing a
anti-gravity
platformer
ahead.
in Star
Use your
Trek Online.
thrusters. The creatures turn back. Must not like anti-gravity.
Alright. That was interesting. You have had this dream of invisible giant
Slow and steady,
insects?
don't get lost. Try to head up when you can.
Garrick and I have a breathable
Zerdones
atmosphere.
in chat just said
Everyone,
he had
try
dream
and
in the
reach our
past of
location.
invisible giant insects.
Williams here. I'm stuck in some kind of tunnel maze. Not sure how to get out.
Receiving
Mirror
your
here.
transmission from the console.
My nav system's
Analyzing
useless.
them.
I'll keep trying to find you all.
Historical data and cultural references in there. The short version, the Herc used to be a peaceful species. There's talk of a great betrayal, some kind of epidemic. Then the entries just turn into
There's
gibberish.
talk of a great betrayal and then some kind of epidemic. Then the entries just turn into gibberish. I think people would have to think twice about writing that in 2021. Alright, so that's not the right way. No, not the right way. So here's another console we can use.
This one looks like technical data. Interesting.
I believe they did,
None of their
Zerdones. I believe
starships
the
had
Dominion
weapons until
did do
2,000
something.
years ago.
to
Their
the
first
Herc to
designs
do
were
them
way
dirty.
ahead of most species at that time, though. Huh. How did they go from geniuses to the ravenous eating machines we're dealing with now?
And you gotta remember that all this has been covered up for thousands of years in Dominion history. They didn't want us to know that when we went into that mission 3 episodes ago, where we went through all the data collection. So am I going the right way? No, I think we've already been this way, so let's try a different path. Oh, that didn't sound good.
Kane, report. I just lost crewman Kane's vitals. Weir's comm signal is down, but he's still alive. Keep an eye out.
Does that one seem to do anything? I press it and nothing happens. Oh, it opens the door? That's what that was doing. Yeah, I do miss the Ferengi screams from the last episodes, or don't have something that we won't have anymore on this one, I don't believe. So far, nothing has jumped out at us when we've opened these doors, so that's a good sign.
Enemy targets on sensor.
Bashir and Garrick are just past this chamber.
Alright, and there's the end of the anti-gravity.
We're picking up some interesting tech on sensors. Interesting and old. Very old. Most of it predates the Federation by several centuries. We think there's some kind of ship ahead of you.
A ship?
It shows signs of damage. You might be in some sort of dry dock or repair facility. Interesting. There are large gaps in tech level between each section of the facility. It's as if the Herc learn as they hibernate. They wake up with 1,000 years of advancements at hand and get ready to work.
Wouldn't that be fun to be able to sleep and just learn as you sleep? I think that'd be wonderful. So here's the ship. Door to the ship. Hey, there we are. We found them.
A pleasure to see you. We'll need all the help we can get if we're to leave this world alive. To that end, the good doctor and I have started to make sense of our surroundings. We seem to be in some sort of Herc command center.
Alright, so we're in our Herc
Technology is
command
driven by
center.
electromagnetic manipulation of morphogenic crystals. Doors, life support, everything, even their central
Morphogenic crystals. Sounds familiar
If we
to
can
the
find the right crystal,
founders, the Dominion
I can bring things
founders.
back online. I found a little information. This planet used to be rich in a type of fungus. It thrived in the harshest of environments, even areas high in pulsar radiation. It used to be a staple of the Herc diet until it disappeared from the ecosystem. Without it, the Herc began to suffer from a severe type of malnutrition. It led to a number of neurological disorders, many of which we've seen firsthand. Based on these readings, there should be more data storage units in the tunnels beyond this chamber. They're the ones by the door with the blue glow rods. One more thing. Some parts of the tunnel still have malfunctioning gravity systems. You should be able to navigate through them, but the energy fields in there will nullify your weapons, so be careful.
Okay, so effectively what we learned is that because the Herc didn't have the food that they needed, that has caused most of the problems they have today. And I guess you could call that hangry? No, perhaps we shouldn't make a joke about that. Now the question is that I have is where do we go next? We've got force fields here, obviously. Oh, we are able to run through those. Never mind. You know, I appreciate the reference, Zardones, about you're not you when you're hungry, but I might be in the minority of people that have never actually had a Snickers bar. And who knows if those still exist in the 25th century.
Oh, good. You made it. We were about to leave when... No! No!
What's going on? Ishimura's vitals just flatlined.
Oh boy, that was something. Oh? Uh-oh.
It moved away from
Well?
me and shrouded itself.
I just died there. And got some bruised ribs as a reward.
That's Kane's helmet. I have a feeling we won't find the rest of him.
Rip, there goes another one. Lost Kane. Now, if I could remember how to get back to that previous room we were in. Well, we were in a green one. Here's a purple one. Let's try this again.
You're a sight for sore eyes. Let's get out of here.
Behind
before-
you.
William!
Oh, God. One after another, they keep dying. I don't even know if we're able to kill this thing.
It moved away from me and shrouded itself.
Okay, so just effectively evade it then.
The Herc tried to synthesize the enzyme they needed for cognition, but failed.
Alright, what's going to be down this path? So far, we've lost 2 people. Let's see if we lose the third. Oh, here we go. Here's another one.
It moved away from me and shrouded itself.
Send your officer to me so that I can address any injuries.
That seems to be the best bet, is to just have it move away. There's no storage crystal in here, is there? No, there's not. Well, it's safe to say that this ship won't be flying anytime soon, given all the rocks that have penetrated it.
That covers the first peaceful meeting between the Herc and the Founders over 3,000 years ago.
Peaceful meeting. I wonder what that was like. Now the question is, do we go this way or the other way? I'm going to keep going down the initial path that we were on. Look at this. One of my officers is attempting to climb the wall. That's something. So we already got the one, so I'm guessing we gotta go back the previous way. Yes, foreshadowing intensifies, and I don't know. Zerdones and anybody else watching before, right now, or after the fact. How would you feel? Do you feel that this atmosphere is sufficiently creepy enough, or could they have done something else to make it a little bit more creepy, scary? Alright, so that's back to the start. No, so that's where I came in from. And I'm wondering, is it a problem that I'm running around in circles for this, or is that the idea? Am I supposed to be running around in circles at this point? Yeah, blood and guts would be interesting. I don't think Stowe has ever done that. I don't even know if their engine would have the capability of doing something like that. Because when you shoot something, it just disappears. Oops, false alarm. Purple one, pink one that we got. We picked up the green one. The question I have is, why do we need anti-gravity? Is there something we need to use that for? Yeah, because it was basically sitting on the middle of the floor, right? And it was just as though somebody just put it down there, and it's like, let's just put it down there, and whatever happens, happens. When in reality, they could have made it look as though it was blown up or something to that effect, or had some blood on it. Now, at one point, we have to wonder if it's just me that has the problem in not finding this, or if it's the game. And I don't think I should be asking that question, because that doesn't feel like a good game design aspect, if that's the way Cryptic went on this. So Jones, you say exactly, do you have any experience with game design or reading into that at all, or are you just an avid consumer of video games like most of us are? Oh, we have to go up. I see, there's a hole in the ceiling. That's what this is for. I didn't look up the previous time, 2 times we were in there. Ah, there we go. Okay, so maybe it wasn't there. Now the question is, how are we gonna get over there? I guess we just gotta run through the rest of the place with eyes up. Eyes open, rather. No, we can't go down the hole here. I assume you meant the hole in the main rooms or domes. Alright, so we're back at the helmet spot. Maybe in this one? Yup, there we go. No? So it's gonna be in the third one that we find. Oh, that's just perfect. Just our luck, isn't it? Ay, ay, ay. Maybe this is why I don't remember this mission, because I'm fairly certain I did all of them on launch. So we went green, purple, and now pink. Let's see what's in the pink one. There we go. All right. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Could be wrong. There we go.
My God. The enzyme the Herc need is a precursor to Ketracel.
Enemy targets on sensor.
Well, that was something. Examine the body and the Herc appears. And then we die.
It moved away from you and shrouded itself.
Personal shield losing power.
And we're back at the place we needed to be. That perhaps was the most efficient way to get back there. Except it might not be registering. There we go. Had to actually walk into the door. Or in through the door.
Nicely done. We should be able to translate Herc data files and run a detailed analysis of them at a greatly accelerated rate now. I have a good friend in Starfleet engineering that would love to spend some time with this technology. The Herc have made some remarkable advances in their time. Ah, the first results are in. Excellent. I have access to a few critical systems, including gravity and power generation. Bringing them online now. I'm getting some historical records now. Give me a moment to process it. Well, this is not good. It's a record of the fall of the Herc civilization at the hands of the Dominion. For some reason, the Dominion removed the fungus from the ecosystem during a Herc hibernation cycle. Military conquest, most likely. This is what drove the Herc to madness.
Alright, so let's unpack what we have here. First we'll answer Zerdon's question. Put simply, death doesn't mean anything really in Star Trek Online unless you're pushing for the highest of numbers. You'll see we are on advanced difficulty here. That's what these two little ticks mean up here, advanced difficulty. You don't get any penalty whatsoever for deaths on normal mode, but if you run on advanced or elite mode, you can get injuries to your character and to your ship, and we have one of these here, broken ribs. I don't believe there's a way to see what each injury means, but it applies some kind of debuff to your character. It's a minor debuff, and at the end of the day, people really don't care that much about injuries in space and on ground. The devs have said that removing the injury system is something that they want to work towards, but it's very far down the list of priorities. So to just answer that question simply, no, there is no penalty for death in this game aside from your own DPS performance if you're in something where you are measuring your DPS or if you're in PvP. And as for what Bashir has said, well, we were right that the Dominion had a role in driving the Herc to insanity.
It appears we have some uninvited guests.
You're a long way from Zenketh, Admiral.
Yes. To what do we owe the pleasure?
Ah, traveling incognito.
One of her many covert identities, I suspect.
This expedition of yours has gone on long enough.
Touched a nerve, have we?
You found a secret I've kept for millennia. Something I've kept from Odo and the Great Link.
The origin of the Herc infestation.
And your role in it.
I needed soldiers to realize my dream of dominion. Enforcers willing to obey without question. Physically, the Herc were perfect candidates. But their peaceful, free-thinking nature was an obstacle. In studying the Herc biology, I found the key to their loyalty.
The Ketracel precursor.
Yes, I extracted it from their ecosystem. They had no choice. Obey or die.
I take it things didn't go according to plan.
No, they became savage, incoherent, volatile. With each cycle, the swarm grew larger, wilder. My ability to control them diminished. All I could do was point them in the direction of my enemies. I would let them rampage and await their eventual hibernation.
Cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war.
They were a failure, but they provided a gift. Ketracel, the gift that led to a more successful endeavor. The Gem Hadar.
I think I've heard enough. I knew you were involved in this somehow. You built an empire on slavery, and now it's all falling apart. When the Alliance learns about this...
But they won't. None of you are leaving this world alive.
You would kill another founder?
There were other founders who knew the truth once, like you. They did not want a dominion built on the backs of slaves. They tried to depose me, to expose the truth to the link. They failed, and paid for their lack of vision.
All of you, against the wall.
Odo, this is getting out of hand.
Stop this now!
No, Odo. This is bigger than you. Bigger than us. The Dominion must endure.
I'm afraid I can't allow that.
What now?
You forced my hand. This is a modification of your own Herc lure. As we speak, every Herc in the Quadrant is homing in on the signal.
And you're calling them here? To their homeworld?
On the contrary, madam. I'm calling them to the Founder homeworld. Your chickens, as the humans say, are coming home to roost.
Insanity! We will...
So the question there, is she dead? And Zardones, I see what you said there, and I will address that after we deal with this Herc problem that we're about to have, because that's something I think that warrants a good deal of discussion. Alright, did we drive it away? No, we didn't. Orbital strike. Alright, that was interesting. So, there was a good message that was just sent in chat a little while ago by Zardones, and it deals with the characteristic of the female changeling, and how she appears to be independent in this sense, when, in reality, what we had known before is that every founder that was part of the Great Link was brought together by unity and lacked a certain level of individuality. And being, I guess, what we can call the founder and her part, and one thing I remember is that when Odo first went to the Link, the rest of them were able to hold things back from him. So if I had to explain that away and do some hand-waving, I'd say that maybe there's some level of individuality that can be maintained with that, but at the same point in time, you gotta wonder how she's been able to keep that secret for all these years. Alright, let's go back to the ship.
You did this? All of you? You killed a god? My god? My beautiful founder. Gone forever. I loved her so. Now you'll pay the price. Guards!
Enough, Wayun. All of you, stand down.
No! You betrayed her! And the Dominion! I will carry out her final order!
That founder is no more, Wayun. This founder has given you an order, and you will obey.
No! He is no founder. She was a founder. He is a traitor! Guards! Shoot to kill! All of them!
Belay that order.
What?
We do not serve you, Vorta. Where this founder leads, we will follow.
Thank you, my friend.
Fine. Then I'll do it myself.
Take Weyoun into custody and return to your ship.
Slow
We
clap.
have business at the home world to attend to.
Yeah, and perhaps in terms of using this as a way, as Sir Jones has said, of turning the Founder and the Dominion into a generic evil, that, thinking about it, is something that the folks who make this game should have kept in mind when they were doing this, because that was one
was
of
it part
the
of your plan to draw every Herc in the sector to this system,
best
Garrett?
things about
Because
Deep
if
Space
it
Nine,
was,
I think, was
it
the
worked with flying
mysterious
colors. We
Dominion.
need to get out of here
How
and
they
fast.
just started
Our
getting
only
a
hope
few
is to punch a
references in
hole through the
season
swarm
2,
so we can go to war.
and then it ramped up slowly but surely to full-scale war at the end of it. Would have been nice to see that continued. I understand what you mean now, Sir Jones. Oh boy.
Try to pull them off. I'll see if I can arrange a distraction.
This is, I see your QQ comments, or Dones in chat. This is a hybrid science build that I really enjoy flying for so many years. I think this build really became a reality in early 2018, but now it just works so well. And that's one thing that the devs are really receptive to, is that they want every playstyle. We touched on this a bit last week on the show here, that every playstyle, whether you're a tactical character, an engineer, or a science character, however you want to play, should be viable.
They're breaking off. They've received the signal. They're heading for the Founder homeworld. I think we're in the clear. The Herc have departed for the Founder homeworld. It will take them some time to reach it, even at maximum warp. We should make the most of that time and bring an end to this madness. The information that the good doctor found should do just that. For now.
Thanks to Garrick, my homeworld is under siege. I realize there's not a lot of love lost to the Founders these days, but if the center of the Dominion falls to the Herc, the rest of the galaxy will soon follow suit. If you're willing to stand with us one last time, assemble your forces and rendezvous with my fleet in the Gamma Quadrant. I hope to see you there before it's too late for all of us.
Alright, so that was Tenebris
There's a certain
Torquent.
poetic symmetry at play here. The Dominion are about to receive their comeuppance from one of the many species they've abused. Regrettably, we Cardassians have some experience in such matters. Of course, our work is just beginning. We need to formulate a cure for the Herc before they devastate every system in the quadrant. Hopefully, we can achieve this lofty goal before they make a meal of the Dominion. Then again, science is often a lengthy, perilous process.
Alright, and the last mission is called Home in the series, and the interesting part about this one is that the first 6 missions here were released in one package when Victory's Life launched, but this one didn't come out until a couple months after. So we were left with that as being the cliffhanger of what was going to happen with this for a little while after we completed everything. So, a fun little factoid there.
Empersa, the homeworld of the Founders, is under attack by the Herc. This is our darkest hour. If Empersa falls, the Dominion will come to an end. I'm asking you to join in the defense efforts as soon as you can. A task force will assemble at my fleet's location in the Gamma Quadrant and warp to Empersa from there. Remember, if we fall, the Alpha Quadrant is next. It's time to make a stand. I hope...
Oh wow, there's lots of people around here. See, these are other people right now, and what we can realistically assume this means is that there's these 4 other people playing their own instances of home currently.
Previously on Star Trek Online, the Dominion as you know it is on the verge of collapse. Without your help, the Herc will win the war of attrition.
What's happening?
Yes, Garrick, I found your mysterious widget. What is it exactly? It's not Karemin tech.
I found a similar device on Bejor.
These devices call the Herc, and we put them there. The other Founders are hiding things from me.
Odo, look out!
Hold your fire. I think it's trying to communicate.
We can't hold off the Herc forever.
Alliance forces are spread too thin to help, Quark.
We need the Klingons, brother. Otherwise, we're doomed.
The Sword of Kahless, as promised.
Once again, the House of Quark delivers. Martok will be pleased.
You found a secret I've kept for millennia.
The origin of the Herc infestation.
And you're rolling it.
The Dominion must endure.
I'm afraid I can't allow that. As we speak, every Herc in the Quadrant is homing in on the signal.
And now the conclusion. I arrived here ahead of you, and I've already engaged the Herc near the planet. You've made your point, Garrick. Deactivate the Herc lure device you placed on the homeworld before this gets out of...
I'm afraid that's the problem, Ambassador. I deactivated it several minutes ago.
Then why are the Hercs still attacking? Don't play games with me here, Garrick. I'm warning you.
Perhaps they're still attacking due to a deep hatred of your people. After all, the Founders are directly responsible for their state of mind, body, and soul. I can't say I blame them for...
Enough! Both of you. We don't have time for this. There's bigger problems to deal with here, starting with that swarm of Herc vessels nearby.
Agreed. My fleet is already engaged near the planet, but Herc reinforcements keep arriving. Try to punch through the swarms so we can join up.
Alright, so now that we got a second for a breather, that previously on Star Trek Online cutscene was because there was that delay. And I kind of wish, thinking about it, that we had those kind of cutscenes that, you know, previously on Quest series in RuneScape. It would be so wonderful if we had those. Anyways, what we're about to see here is one of the biggest space battles they ever put together for a mission, so enjoy.
This is the Chimera. We're here to help.
The CSS Steadfast stands ready to assist you as well.
So we got Nog and the Zenkethi now joining us.
My ship won't last much longer. We need to deal with the swarm attacking it immediately.
So the first time we played, I went themed. Last time, I kind of toned it back a bit, but this time we're just letting him have him and releasing everything that I have. But wait, there's more. I shouldn't spoil that. There's gonna be more. There's gonna be more. I think, at least. More and more. Nope. This isn't peak rave. We could kick it up another notch if we had a different one of my characters
well done.
around.
The ship's taken heavy damage, but she'll survive.
Well, we've bought ourselves some time. Let's hope it's enough. Julian, is your plan ready? It may be our best.
It's as ready as possible, Captain. The challenge of frontier medicine, I'm afraid, is that there is never enough time. I've created a program that will enable the Herc to synthesize the compound they need to come to their senses. I've also put together a core sample of the compound for them to utilize in mass production. That...
And the hard part? What do you need to make this happen?
From what we've learned about the Herc, the best way to make this happen will be to enter the data into one of their core computer systems. It'll need to be a command-level system with fleet-wide override authority.
Because that's what Dr. Bashir always wanted to practice. He always wanted to practice frontier medicine. That is indeed a reference from Emissary.
There's a Herc dreadnought heading toward the planet as we speak. It's slow, so we should be able to intercept it. I recommend we engage that ship and disable it, if possible. We'll need to get a team on board to carry out Julian's plan.
Is that ravey enough for User Jones?
We did it. The dreadnought's disabled. That ship is still crawling with Herc, though. Make sure your away teams are ready for a fight.
I'll send some of my best. Dukan Rex will lead a Jem'Hadar away team, while Loris will assist Dr. Bashir.
Right. Let's get the away teams on that dreadnought before it calls for backup.
Loris and I have all we need. We're ready to beam over when you...
See, if we had a soundbot right here, you could play some of that electronic techno music with that.
We'll need to find their central computer core. Once we're there, I'll begin the override process that will allow us to transmit our data on the cure.
All right, I'm going to re-equip my armor so that we don't have much of a problem from previous ones. So that goes on him. Jem'Hadar number 3, and Tomov, Romulan, or Vulcan. Oops, sorry. I just confused a Romulan for a Vulcan. That would be bad.
Enemy life signs ahead. Get ready to fight. Proceed with caution. I'm reading numerous hazards in the area. This section of the ship has taken heavy damage.
One thing that I have not mentioned when it comes to ground combat in this game is that there's an inherent built-in flanking system. So if you get behind a target, you will deal extra damage. And see, it's all these little things like this, that built-in flanking system, the fact we do more damage if we zoom in. All of these things, they're not written in any manual anywhere. And unless you've been around since the very beginning, or you go through each menu in the game, you're not going to know about that. And when it comes to knowing odds and ends, I've been playing this game on and off since beta in late 2009. I took a couple of breaks along the way, but they're just things that you pick up over time that aren't written down anymore. Revive one of our NPC helpers. And that is actually something that you can do on ground task force missions, as they're called. If you get knocked down, one of your teammates can help you get up again with that ability. Whether or not they do it, though, is of course a different question. This might have been a good mission to bring the Red Angel suit. Just how much damage we're taking. That's another one of the event reward items that they gave out last year, the Red Angel suit from Discovery. Oh, lens flare, look at that. I'm glad we don't do too much lens flare in Stowe. And keep in mind, I put this on advanced difficulty, and you can see how much time it's taking to whittle these guys down. I wouldn't want to necessarily do Elite for the stream. I have done this one on Elite before on a different character, but I didn't want to put us up to that on the stream.
Excellent work. It's time for Loris and I to finish this. Keep your weapons handy, however. We're breaking into a secure computer system here. The Herc are bound to take offense. Keep them busy while we do our work, or this will be a wasted trip.
Alright, time to buckle up.
I was saving time by inverting the feed now instead of later. I wouldn't even be in Starfleet anymore if it weren't for this Herc nonsense.
This is the best part of the mission, hearing the back talk. Or maybe I might be speaking too soon, but I really enjoyed that.
Running out of time, Doctor!
Perhaps you know of a bastard to translate Herc language and reverse engineer their technology.
Any time now. You can see on the right-hand side here, we're about 75% done, 80% done at this point. Alright, now we just gotta do cleanup.
Almost ready here. The system needs the physical samples of the cure for final analysis.
Make it happen. Wow, Ayun looks like he's seen better days.
How is this possible? You were in prison!
I was liberated by those who still served the true Founders. Not everyone is a traitor to the Dominion, after all.
There is only one traitor here, Wayun. It's time you paid the price for your treachery.
Pathetic.
And of course, no dramatic sequence is complete without waving your hands about while talking.
Allow me to instruct you. You, Jemadar, Make yourself useful. Kill them. Giving you an order. Open fire. Kill them now.
I think not.
Rip.
He's gone.
And not a moment too soon.
Bashir to command.
Also, I should note that this
Everyone, we
Jem'Hadar
have a problem.
that we're dealing with here, the guy who was just in the cutscene, was the one that they found as a child on that one Deep Space Nine episode. I don't know if I said that when we started the Victorious Life arc off. But Dukan Rex was the Jem'Hadar they found as a child. And he's the one we've been dealing with throughout this.
That Herc fleet is about to attack our position. We need to give the Doctor the time he needs to transmit data on the cure.
Alright, we got another 2-minute long Herc ambush. Start the raid music up again, Zerdones. Seconds.
Brilliant observation, Quark. What do you want?
Forgive my brother, Odo. We're here
And
to
of
help.
course these guys
The
have to
Ferengi
appear.
Cavalry?
The Ferengi
I thought
Cavalry.
I'd seen everything.
Oh, the best is yet to come, Odo. Say hello to my dangerous friends.
Well, Quark, we're waiting.
Rom, where are they?
Lose something? Like your nerve, perhaps?
Long ago, Takuvma, the Unforgettable, lit the beacon of Kahless to restore glory to the Empire. Today, a new torchbearer, Worf, son of Moog, does the same. United, we now go to fight the enemy of our ancestors. Today, we will fight the Herc. I now hold the weapon they fear most. The Sword of Kahless has been returned to us. Join me now in honorable combat. Show the Herc what it truly means to be Klingon. For Kahless, for the Empire, Kapla!
Right? Not, Zerdone says, not quite how we remember the Discovery premiere. But hey, I guess that's the modernization of the Klingon culture. I'm wondering if who I thought was going to be appearing will be appearing in this, or if I'm thinking of something else. There's one group of people that's conspicuously missing. Oh, well, there we go. Dead. See, there's one of those injuries. Projectile launcher damage. Yeah, and, you know, that's a good thing to look into, as well as that if the Klingons want to interpret it that way, what does that mean for general cultural implications, and is there anything that we see like that in our own culture? It's, of course, what Star Trek is, but
The arrival of the Klingons has given us more time in space, but the situation on the surface is dire. Herc's forces are breaking the Jem'Hadar defense lines. We need to do what we can to help. I'm beaming directly to the Great Link to aid my people.
The time has come. The Herc mean to ravage everything in their path. We will not allow it. We will stand against them, as Kahless once stood, defiant and proud. Fight well, and if need be, die well.
let's finish this. Alright, as we wait for the Founder's homeworld to appear, I thought we were going to have another guest joining us in space there, but I guess that's not happening. I wanted to show that one group of people off on stream. Maybe that'll be another time. Wink, wink, if you know who I'm referring to. There we go.
Whom do we seek? Kahless! How do we find him? Together! Kahless, give us light to see forever! Will he hide from us always? Never!
It's worse than we thought. Most of the Jem'Hadar lines have been broken. Even the Great Link is in danger. I'm going to coordinate our defenses at the link. Meet me there.
We'll meet you there as soon as we can.
The Jem'Hadar have come to our aid.
Yep, Zerdon's Emperor Kahless is still alive. I don't believe he has made an appearance in Stowe, though. This is one of those fights, if you don't keep moving, you're gonna die. And the reason for that is because not only can we just run through this, but the objective isn't until the end.
fight well. You fight.
See, we're in combat, and because we're in combat, this chat is getting cut off.
Good. There are many hurt between us and the Great Link.
Which is unfortunate.
We won't
and
last
would've
long
been
out
nice
in
if
the
they
open like this.
Would have had a better way to prevent that from happening.
Odo to Kira. We're fortifying our position near the Great Link.
Understood. We're on our way.
That's a weird looking border.
On this, the homeworld of the gods. Truly, we are living in strange times. You'll forgive my boldness, but there are still...
Yeah, we'll help the founders. They're very generous with the camera shake, aren't they?
Too late. This changeling's losing more.
Oh, we're too late for one.
I don't know you, son, but I thank you for your service.
Wow, the changeling said thank you, Solid, for your service. Perhaps this is the beginning of the change in their behavior. I think we can assume that all these dark piles here are dead changeling.
Is this some sort of solid invasion?
That one doesn't know what's going on.
Timing is fortuitous. Solid.
And we reach our beachhead now.
You made it. Good. We're going to need all the help we can get here. It looks like the Herc are focusing their attacks on the link. I've called for reinforcements, but most of our lines have been overrun. We're going to make a stand here and hope the Doctor's plan is successful.
Alright. Now we're into one of those situations where you just gotta hold the line again. But this time on the ground.
Please tell me you have more Jem'Hadar coming to help.
The call's been sent, but they may not arrive in time.
We'll do what we can with what we have then.
As always, until the end.
I'm not sure I like the way you said that, Odo.
Maurice, if we don't make it...
No, now is not the time for this discussion.
Look around.
You're right. And I understand what you
You do? Then you know how sorry.
He's sorry.
do. Yes. And I forgive you.
I know. I feel the same.
And thinking about it, if the Kira and Odo storyline was to end there, would we be okay with them apologizing, just assuming that they're both at peace with everything that's happened in the Victory's life arc and everything in between the end of DS9, I wonder? Now this is at the point where I feel personally that this battle is starting to take a little bit too long in terms of just holding my attention and holding more general players' attention as well. Oh, and there we go. It wraps up right there.
Nerys, are you hurt?
It's just a scratch. I'm fine. We're losing ground here, Odo. Keep fighting.
We can't hold this position much longer.
That's Jem'Hadar, for we're about to die, Doctor. Are you ready?
Not without the Ketracel components needed for the cure.
Ketracel. Yes. Victory.
Wait! Stop!
Is life.
It seems the battle is over, but how? What happened up there, Doctor?
I believe Dukan Rex realized that his own body contained the Ketracel material I needed to finalize the cure. He extracted what we needed at the cost of his life. Once the Herc were able to synthesize the cure, they came to their senses and called for an immediate ceasefire. Their forces are withdrawing as we speak. It's over. I won't say we've won, but it's over.
Alright, so that was the Herc method of hibernating and learning. Dukan Rex donated his body for the cure, and as a result, the Herc were able to synthesize the Ketracel enzyme to remove the craziness aspect. And we wait again. And this is another fun thing that these come from the most recent lockbox as well, the lower decks uniforms, but you can actually buy these in what's called the Lobby store, because each time you open up lockboxes, you get Lobby crystals, little orange crystals, and then you can use that to buy extra things without needing to gamble. So that's actually a good thing that they put that in there instead of the box. So that's how they're bringing in the lower decks uniform.
There was nothing I could do for him on the Herc Dreadnought. The Ketracel extraction process was too devastating. Odo, You treated him like a son when we first found him on DS9, and I'm truly sorry.
He didn't even have a name when he left us. I'll make sure the name he found is never forgotten. I remember his first days on the station. All he wanted to do was fight. Didn't matter who. When he left, I thought I'd never see him again. Or if I did, it'd be as enemies. The man I met years later still knew how to fight, but his reasons for doing so had changed dramatically. I'm proud to have known him. I wish I could have done more in the end. I suppose you're right. I believe Captain Kira was looking for you. She was at the Temple of the Prophets last I checked. If you'll excuse me, I'm going to pay my respects. We'll talk more later.
And those were Odo's last lines in Star Trek Online. They never did get him back for another mission.
And here we are, once again. It's been quite a journey, hasn't it? Funny you should mention that. After we got back, Starfleet Command offered me a number of postings, even the center chair on one of those shiny new cruisers. Tempting. But I chose to join the command staff here on DS9. Bajor and the Celestial Temple mean a lot to me, and this station is a good place to keep them both safe. Subtle, but you're not wrong. Odo and I have a lot to work out before we're back to where we were, but we've taken a few good steps in that direction. I think it'll work out. Eventually. He's a hard man to read sometimes.
It is good to see you once more. I was hoping we'd have a moment to speak on an important matter before your duties take you back to the stars. My thoughts often return to the Orb of Peace. It was no coincidence that it was found in the Gamma Quadrant, in the midst of two warring tribes. I believe it to be a message from the prophets, one of guidance in troubled times. Now that the conflict with the Herc has ended, I feel it's time to explore this omen more thoroughly. The recent vision experienced by Loris is truly remarkable. That the prophets would speak to a Vorta. Again, this is no coincidence. Simply put, I believe the orb is meant to broker a lasting peace between the people of our quadrants and the Dominion.
And that means that we won't be facing the Dominion anymore in Star Trek Online as antagonists.
Hello again, my friend. It pleases me to see you. I have interesting news. Thankfully, no. Rather, it involves the Orb of Peace that you returned with Kaiopaka. It has spoken to me. I've been exploring the meaning of that experience with the Kai and Captain Kira. They are, after all, experts on such matters. While we all find it curious that an orb of the prophets would speak to a Vorta, we also agree it would be foolish to ignore it. With the blessings of Founder Odo, I have been transferred to this quadrant to continue my studies of the orb and the prophets. I shall also serve as Founder Odo's representative here. Diplomacy is my specialty, after all. I'm sure we'll be seeing one another again. May the blessings of the Founders and the Prophets be yours.
Thank you for coming to visit. After all we've been through, it means a lot to have friends. Even if it reminds me of the ones we miss. Speaking of reunions, I think General Martok is leading the charge against the Bloodwine and Quarks. I'm sure he'd want to congratulate you on another glorious victory. May the Prophets watch over you.
Works bar. Alright, we'll start with the Zenkethi captain.
I am forever indebted to you. Without your efforts, I would walk the path of exile for the rest of my days. Now, I will help make amends for all that has happened during Zenketh's terrible crusade.
So what happened with the Zenkethi was before the Victory's life arc, before we started doing this playthrough, the Zenkethi were taking it upon themselves to cleanse and purify worlds that the Herc were invading, because there were a number of Herc invasions in the Alpha Quadrant, and the Zenkethi were doing that, and we thought the Zenkethi was the enemy. But lo and behold, here we figured out that it was the Herc problem all along, and that's what the storyline was prior to this Victory's Life arc.
Oh, I'm so glad to see this come to an end. But not as glad as everyone back on Ferenginar. It's a celebration of Rule 35 like no one's ever seen before. I mean, peace may be good for business, but things are really getting out of hand. When word got out that the Gamma Quadrant was open for business, the new Latinum rush was on. Open borders and free trade policies? My husband was practically weeping with joy. Oh, poor Odo. He thought he had his hands full with Quark on DS9. Now, he's gonna have an entire quadrant full of Ferengi to deal with.
The Gamma Quadrant is open for business.
We'll be here at DS9 until my ship is repaired. Fortunately, I have exclusive rights to the holosim of the battle. The sales of that alone will cover the cost of repairs, and then some. Some days, it's good to be the Grand Nagus. I don't like to think about how close to disaster we were, though. Fortunately, there were people like you out there to bring us all back from the brink. All those adventures. You've got quite a story to tell. That reminds me. Have you ever considered making a holobiography? I think your life story would be quite popular and profitable. I'll make you a very generous offer for the rights and cut you in on a share of the profits, say 25%.
Let's go with 50. Oh, we have to
yourself.
decline.
The offer still stands if you change your mind.
In hindsight, I would have settled at 30 or 35.
Welcome back. Seeing as this is a private party and I'm in an unusually generous mood, you'll be getting the VIP discount on your drinks tonight. Did you take a hit to the head in that fight? I'm in a good mood. Not insane. Half off. Take it or leave it.
And we asked Quark if
That's more like
if
it.
the
Don't
drinks
take
would be
it
on the
personally.
house.
You could be Odo. His drinks? 50% markup. Not much to tell, really. Lex saw the error of his ways and gave it back. Then I had Grilka let
I love here that
Martok
we can
and
go back
Worf
and get a little bit
know
extra
we've
on
recovered
Quark's Lucky 7.
A quick handoff later, and the Klingons were off to war. Rom and I tagged along, mainly to see the look on Odo's face when I rode in with the cavalry. That was priceless. If I die tomorrow, I'll go to the Exchequer with a smile on my face. Who do you think you're talking to? Nog? Unlike the Federation, the Klingons know the value of Latinum. I'm thinking of spending my cut on a smaller moon to orbit the one I already have. I might even name it Odo.
A moon
Can I
named
get
Odo.
you something?
A hard-fought battle and a well-earned victory. And yet, we almost missed it. Our fleet would have never left the Empire if it weren't for the sword's return. Grilka tells me her former mate, Quark, had something to do with that. Yes, it was Worf's idea to ignite the beacon of Caelus. A bold move, but it paid off. Only a coward could refuse such a call to arms. The legend of Caelus is stronger than ever. It would not surprise me if the High Council moved to create a new clone of the Emperor. There is great power in legend.
And for another little bit of trivia, the Beacon of Caelus is that big bright light that we saw at the first episode of Star Trek Discovery.
That was quite the battle. I knew my father and uncle were up to something, but I didn't think it involved leading the Klingon fleet to the fight. That said, we wouldn't have pulled this off without you. Glad you were here for this. Starfleet's assigned the Chimera to peacekeeping duty in Herc space. We'll be working with the Joint Task Force to help the Herc get back on their feet again as well. There's a lot to be done, but we want to help them rejoin the galactic community. It is, but my crew is up for the challenge. They're some of Starfleet's best. Take care of yourself out there. Don't be a stranger.
And that was, of course,
there's a message from Garrick on my monitor
Aaron
here.
Eisenberg's
Text
last
only.
appearance in Star Trek Online.
He wants you to meet him at his old tailor shop. Maybe he's had enough of politics and wants to get back in the fashion game. Probably more profitable in the long run. I wouldn't keep him waiting if I were you. He looks for secrets when he gets bored, and trust me, he's not the person you want poking around in your business.
Garrick's Clothiers.
The conflict may be over, but there's still plenty of work to be done. The Lucari
Captain
have offered to help
Kumarki
the Hurk
is
restore their homeworld
representative of
ecosystem,
Lucari.
and they
We
accepted.
We
Dr. Bashir will be
started
working
talking
with
with
us
them
on
in
this.
the previous
It's
arc
our
to
goal to ensure
Victory's
that
life.
no
That's
Hurk
why
will
we
go without
didn't see them in
nourishment
this
again.
one.
Some time ago, I hoped for a path to peaceful resolution to our troubles with the Hurk. I'm happy to be part of such a solution, at last. Thank you for your efforts.
So I just have to show you guys something at this point. You might have noticed that in the bottom left of the screen it said we acquired a Gamma Quadrant Tribble. And that's because if I search through the inventory here for my tribbles, I have this Ryzian tribble that I used during the summer event. And every hour that you're online, a tribble will breed, eating a piece of food from your inventory. And to breed a Gamma Quadrant tribble, any tribble needs to consume Ketracel White. So in theory, if you don't remove the tribbles from your inventory and you didn't fill your inventory up with other stuff, every hour you would have another tribble appearing. And each of them has unique buffs as well. This one gives us a 5% damage boost versus the Dominion. I don't want that, so we'll get rid of it. Another one we have here is the Rainbow Tribble that boosts critical chance based on the number of teammates that have the Rainbow Tribble active. And whenever you use one, you get a nice little animation too. And of course the sound. Fun little Star Trek Online Easter egg.
Thank you for meeting me here. Strangely, I find it easy to center myself in this shop, even relax. Quite so. Cardassia is about to begin a new journey, as it were, and I'll be going along for the ride. Oh, it is. Cardassia has been offered membership in the Alliance, and we've accepted. Our seat at the table was hard-earned, but we're ready and grateful to join the ongoing efforts. Officer exchange programs have already begun. In fact, I suspect you'll be seeing more Cardassian faces in the future. I hope you show them the same courtesy as you've shown me in our shared adventures.
No, tribbles do not debuff Klingon crews, Zerdones, and I think there must be some kind of an antidote for that at this point, because even if you play as a Klingon, you can get all the buffs that the humans do from the tribbles.
Oh, I'll be spending time on Earth, Kronos, and New Romulus. The life of an ambassador is never dull, after all. Someone needs to make sure the Alliance doesn't forget about Cardassia, and I suppose that someone is me. I'll be sure to follow your exploits, of course. They'll be far more entertaining than economic forecasts and state functions, to be sure. I believe our fearless leaders would like to have a word with you next.
I feel like we need to go on some kind of grand mission with Garrick at some point again in the future.
I have initiated a dialogue between the Dominion and the Karema. In light of recent events, I feel it is imperative that their conflict is resolved peacefully. Whether that results in an independent Karema or not remains to be seen, but I shall endeavor to help them reach a result that is beneficial for both parties.
The Havas Cool sector has been designated as independent from the Dominion, and a Herc neutral zone has been established around it. The Empire will join the Federation and the Republic in keeping the peace between the Dominion and the Herc. We have experience in enforcing a neutral zone, after all. Martok's use of the beacon and the return of the blade has led to a renewed interest in Kalis throughout the Empire. Some say that Martok stands with honor next to great heroes like Tukuvma, Vok, Lorel, and Kang. As if getting along with a stubborn old Targ wasn't difficult enough, his ego will be larger than Mount Hamar at this rate. It is fortunate that Martok has little in the way of political aspirations. Otherwise, I may need to kill him. Again.
So a couple notes on this dialogue with the Klingon Chancellor here. This was as Discovery was just getting rolling, so of course it mentions Takuma, Vok, and Lorel, but it was also foreshadowing that these three characters would be heavily involved in the Discovery arc that was on its way, and that's where Star Trek Online went after this. And the whole discussion about Martok being assassinated, that was dealt with in another mission as well. He was dead initially when Star Trek Online launched, or presumed dead, but one of the missions rectifies that.
There have been some significant diplomatic events since your return from the Gamma Quadrant. First, the Dominion is joining the Alliance. Having them as allies will take some getting used to, but the opportunity was too great to ignore. As a condition to joining the Alliance, we requested that the Founders take steps to free the Jem'Hadar from their addiction to Ketracel White. I'm happy to say that Ambassador Odo is inclined to comply with that request. It will make things interesting in the Gamma Quadrant, to be sure. Still, it's been a long time coming. The Jem'Hadar should be able to live their lives freely.
Alright, and back to sickbay we go. Oh, I guess those weren't Odo's last lines.
Things are finally settling down around here. Well, as much as it ever settles down, that is. Well, there's a lot to be done with the Herc, and being part of Starfleet will help me make things happen in that regard. When I'm not here, I'll be working with the Lucari and the crew of the USS Aventine to help the Herc get back on their feet. Indeed, but I happen to be married to the captain of the Aventine, so it won't be, too bad. The kids won't be joining us until Kumake and her team restore Havas Cool to a more habitable state, however. I'm sure we'll see each other again soon. But until then, be safe out there. Dr.
And now, a fun question. Who is the captain of the USS Aventine, and who is he married to? I think there's only one answer to that, and we see that in the last episode of Deep Space Nine.
The Dominion is about to go through a number of changes, liberating the Jem'Hadar from the White, phasing out the Founders' benevolent dictatorship, establishing a safe haven for the Herc. Needless to say, I'm going to be very busy for quite some time. No, there are still a number of Founders within the Great Link who will be very resistant to change. I'd like to think they're outnumbered by those willing to take a more democratic approach, however. The last thing anyone needs is a Dominion civil war. Also, not all of the Herc were cured. We'll be dealing with rogue swarms for some time. I hope we can call on you in the future if we run into that special kind of trouble you have a talent for dealing with. Oh, and speaking of trouble, you might keep an eye on Quark. That little act of heroism with the Sword of Kalis will make him bolder than ever.
And of course, this line with Odo means that we'll always have the task force operations and Gamma Quadrant patrols that can keep us occupied in game. And that is it for home and the Deep Space Nine, Victory's Life arc, and Star
The
Trek
future of the
Online.
Dominion is uncertain for the first time in many years. Without the Founder and her unbreakable will at the center of it all, the Gamma Quadrant will undoubtedly go through a great deal of turmoil. I'll do what I can to maintain order and keep the peace, but it's going to be challenging, to say the least. For now, what matters to me is that you fought for the Dominion when we needed it the most. I won't forget that. And thanks to the Great Link, neither will the Founders. Thank you. I hope we meet again under much better circumstances. If you'll excuse me.
And there we have it, folks. That's the end of the Victory's Life arc here in Deep Space Nine. We're going to wrap the stream shortly, but before we do that, I just want to show you guys one thing. Take a bit of a walk through the station, since we didn't get to do that in a relaxed way. Just showcase some of the details that they've put in. And one fun thing to note is just look how many people use this as their hub. Because you can use places like Earth Space Dock as a hub. You can use the Klingon area as a hub, the Romulan area, but you can also use Deep Space Nine as a hub as well, and lots of people just choose to do that. So we've been through the main floor a lot, but I feel like we just have to go upstairs and just have a gaze out the window as to showcase how the series ended. And I guess while we're here, maybe we'll have a look at this as well. No, it's not gonna activate, but this is the in memoriam thing of all the Star Trek Online, or Star Trek actors who have come and gone, and it just runs through all their names, and you can see them all right there. And interesting little aspect of this, when both Renee and Aaron passed, a lot of people came up directly here because this is where the memorial point is, and of course in the series where Jake and Nog would always just sit watching the people come on board. So the fans went there, and that's where the memorial sat on DS9. Then you can just do a quick run around the upper level of the promenade here. And as I mentioned, when they built this one to scale of what it actually looked like in the show, so you can actually see in some cases how cramped set was, but impeccable levels of detail. And here's, see, two people sitting as they used to do on the ledges up here. So fun little details baked into the Star Trek Online gameplay experience. Every little nook and cranny in which you find them in game. And at this point, I think I'm going to sign off, and hopefully you guys all enjoyed that. Deep Space Nine, Zerdone says, was one of the best in all of Star Trek history. I am inclined to agree with that. And Sirion will be back next week. If you guys enjoyed this, please do give us the channel a follow. I believe Cyan is also streaming as per normal next week. When it comes to streaming future episodes of Star Trek Online, never say never. I think we could probably maybe go through the Discovery arc, or maybe the Klingon arc at some point. But that's, of course, a topic for another day. I enjoyed doing this. So with that being said, the usuals will be back next week for another stream. Until then, take care and goodbye.